Note is the new Netflix film from director Adam Wingard that is an adaptation of the Japanese anime of the same name. This movie follows the teenager Light Turner, played by Nat Wolff, and one day while he's sitting down, magically this death note falls from the sky and he meets this death god named Ryuk, played by Willem Dafoe, basically telling him you can write anyone's name in here, how you want them to die, and they will die. And Light actually starts to kind of get into this whole death note idea, and while this is going on, a character named L is working with the police to try to find out who is causing all these deaths under the alias of Kira. Before seeing this film, I had not seen the anime Death Note. Even when the trailers were released, the poster images, when it was even announced to begin with, never seen the anime. Now, I did watch the movie a couple days ago, and ever since then I've been watching a couple episodes of the Death Note anime, and it is pretty good, but I would strictly just want to talk about this as its own film. When you're adapting something that's based off another source material, sometimes it's just best to kind of look at it from a perspective of what if the original source material didn't exist and this was just a standalone thing. That's kind of what I really want to do here with this review, and as a fan of director Adam Wingard, I enjoy VHS and VHS 2, and even The Guest, that's his best film. Not a big fan of Blair Witch though. And coming from me, a guy who's enjoyed a lot of Adam Wingard's films, coming from me who just wanted a good movie, hadn't seen the anime before I saw the movie, and was just completely unbiased to it while watching it, I think Adam Wingard should just stick to original kind of ideas like The Guest or the VHS films, because after Blair Witch and now this, I'm not sure if he should really be taking on movies based off another franchise. This movie's pretty bad. I'm not going to say that this is a completely awful film. There's definitely some Wingard visuals going on with like the cinematography, and that was pretty unique to see. And the overall concept of the Death Note, what a movie like that could be, is still pretty intriguing. And for a while, I was still interested to see like, okay, where can this possibly go? Is it going to go down the psychological kind of thriller route? And at the end of the day, they didn't really do that, but at the same time, I was still sort of interested to see where it was going to go throughout the movie. And then you have the best character in this whole thing, Ryuk, played by Willem Dafoe. He was excellent in this film. Could we have used a little bit more of him? Absolutely, actually, but still, Willem Dafoe did an excellent job, especially the way he laughs. It's like perfectly fitting this character, and the visuals actually worked very well for him too. And there's one other thing I kinda liked in this movie, and that is Lakeith Stanfield's performance as L. Now, the character himself, I'm surprised that they kinda made him a low-budget Batman, pretty much. He dresses in all black, no one knows who he is, but he works with the police. He's pretty much just Batman. But nonetheless, I think Stanfield's performance actually kind of worked for this character. I'm not going to say that he was the best one in this movie, because even he, at a couple points, had a couple questionable moments. The best character is easily Ryuk, but I'd say L is the better human character. In fact, there's even one scene where he actually talks with Light at like this diner, and it is easily the best scene with those two characters when they're exchanging dialogue with each other. I actually thought that was really well put together. Unfortunately, let's talk about our negatives here. Light Turner, played by Nat Wolff. Now, a lot of people are really upset because he's not as smart as he was in the anime, which is very obvious. But like I said, I kind of want to judge this movie on its own instead of relying on the original source material. And even then, Light Turner in this movie sucks. He is not good. Nat Wolff's performance strained from annoying to really questionable at times. Like, he gets this death note, and instead of kind of having it in secret like I would assume anyone would kind of do, he has it out in the open for a lot of times. And the first girl to ask him, his crush, conveniently Mia, she's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "I can't tell you." And she's like, "Okay." And then he goes, "Oh, you really want to know?" And it's like he's so easy to just open up to her, like, "Oh, you want to know what this death note is? It kills people. Are you into that?" And in fact, she actually is kind of into that. Their relationship really relies on murdering others, which could be an idea that works very well. It's just in this movie, they kind of breeze past it. The best way I can really describe this movie, it's like a feature-length recap of some television series that was just on. Like, they're showing you like the basic scenes, but they don't really let you in on the characters' motivations because they already assume you saw the season and you don't really need this recap, except this is a movie, not a recap, and we kind of need to understand the characters' motivations and reasons for doing things, and this movie really doesn't have that. Why does Light all of a sudden just easily turn to the dark side as soon as he gets the death note? No idea. They never really let you in on who he movie is beforehand. Literally, in the first minute of the movie, Light Turner's just doing some homework and the Death Note falls. They give you no time to get to know him before the Death Note falls, before meeting Ryuk. Like 7 minutes passes and Ryuk is all of a sudden like, here I am in the movie all of a sudden without giving you any time to get to know this character, get interested in him. And by the way, his reaction to seeing Ryuk for the first time, screaming like a little girl, like Shia LaBeouf actually. Like if you remember Shia LaBeouf's scream from like Transformers 2, I think, that's pretty much what Nat Wolff does as soon as he meets Ryuk, and it's unbearable. There's even one point where he's yelling at his dad about his mom, and he was so irritating. I couldn't stand his character. And by the end of the movie, they're kind of working up to like, oh, he's such a genius, he had this last act completely planned out. But everything you've seen beforehand doesn't really make you care about the character, but now all of a sudden, he has everything planned out. And even his girlfriend, Mia, completely changes as soon as she sees the Death Note, pretty much. Like, oh, she's just some cheerleader, and then all of a sudden, oh, now I'm a complete sociopath too, without giving her any motives or anything explaining as to why she is this person. They just do it and expect you to be on board with it, but I'm not on board with it. I want to see these characters grow. This should be a really mental, psychological film, but they don't explore anyone's motives. Also, this movie has no idea what it really wants to be. If it wants to be a psychological thriller or just an action thriller, there's literally an action chase scene at one point. There's an action scene on a Ferris wheel, and that last act literally felt like a young adult novel being brought into the screen concerning some things that were happening story-wise. This movie was a complete mess, not just from the script or even from the tone, but also some of the dialogue here is horrible. Like at one point I literally groaned and rolled my eyes so hard. And even some of the death scenes, there's nothing really that special. Like the opening death scene, like I was thinking, oh, is this that kind of movie? Just it's gonna be some gory deaths all the time. And occasionally you will see someone die and blood spewing out everywhere, but there's not like there's a whole lot of that. They don't really like go like that much into the deaths. Like they really only show like a few people dying of the Death Note, and then there's a ton that are just off screen or montage through. Oh yeah, and Light Turner, as soon as he gets the Death Note, he all of a sudden knows everything there is to know about it because all the rules are right there. I think it would have been much better if he was actually experimenting with like, what can I do, and asking Ryuk that instead of like, oh, here's a bunch of rules, Ryuk's gonna point them out to you and then you're just gonna be God, you're Kira now. Like in the span of like 10 minutes, I feel like he goes from just this kid just using this Death Note, all of a sudden, I'm gonna be their God. It was so rushed and it was just not focused at all. The best thing this movie could have done was explore the characters more, have them be interesting. Don't have actors who are completely annoying and have no idea how to perform these characters. And also have more Ryuk. Have more of him in the movie. He is one of the most entertaining parts of this entire film, and he's barely in it at a lot of times. I don't completely hate this movie. As I said earlier, there's a couple things that Adam Wingard does with the camera that I appreciate. Ryuk is awesome, and L is serviceable, I guess. Not everyone in this movie is terrible, but the key characters that you are following are really misguided. You have no idea what their motives are, and you're just seeing these mental, messed up people, and you are not engaged with them in the slightest. You're not interested by them. It's not like a fascinating character study set in this fictional world. It's just dumb. This movie's just dumb. I'm gonna give Death Note a C-. Coming from me who did not see the anime before watching this movie, I still didn't even really enjoy it, and as I continue watching the anime now, I'm honestly kinda hating this movie more for what it was doing. And Adam Wingard, I respect you for what you've done with other films like The Guest and the VHS films, but seriously, after Blair Witch and this movie, maybe franchise things aren't your thing. I know you're doing Godzilla vs. Kong, and maybe because that's not a horror movie, that'll do fine. I'm not sure. Just, I would like to see more original works from you, because I think you strive best at those. But if you've seen Netflix's Death Note, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.